finals beta ran for 2 weeks, and it was not only one of the longer beta tests I've seen, but one of the longer closed betas. I've had a bit of time since to kind of weigh how I felt about the game and hopefully get some more info from Embark. We don't have any of that just yet. It gave a lot of people a chance to play the game, and even more, a chance to watch it. We'll talk about that a little more later. But how was it overall? What went right and what didn't?
Oh, look at me! Look at me!
And what can we expect in the coming months from the finals? Let's get the bad news out of the way first. The launch was a little rough. Granted, many gamers don't know what to expect from a beta, but there were some core issues. Most notably for me was the sound glitch that was there every time you died.
Yeah, like, I don't need this static thing when I'm dead. It's stupid. Take it off. Just get rid of it. I think it sticks around until you team wipe.
Which is more of an annoyance than anything. But much more importantly was the gunfire not registering.
There's something wrong with moving and shooting with the deagle. It just doesn't hit. You cannot hit a shot. It's not possible. It's so inaccurate.
Well, this can be hard to notice at first. Experienced shooter players notice this hit reg issue almost immediately. While these issues were remedied quickly, I still think it did some damage as far as those first impressions go, and I hope it doesn't keep those players from giving the game another chance. Next was the game type or the explanation, or just the lack thereof. I personally feel like the hype trailers, the brief in-game guide, and the other tips pages in the game do a pretty decent job of explaining the concept, but I think a little more hand-holding could be in order. We've all played with teammates that ignore objectives, but I think the finals game type is so specific and different that the average shooter player might need a little help. Maybe it's less the lack of explanation than really driving it home that you need to protect or steal cash outs, and if you die, you will not come back quickly. And if you die repeatedly, you will lose. And I know you watching this know this, of course you do, but I feel like maybe more of an initial walkthrough could have been beneficial. I do have this feeling that Apex Legends players will be the best to transition into the finals because it's basically a fast trio hero shooter where dying will likely see you get knocked out. And they're better equipped to, go from holding a point to speeding off to the next than maybe somebody like a Siege player who can play an objective but isn't used to speed functioning in the same way. Lastly, I think there might have been an issue with the code delivery system giving players access to the beta. As you may know, if you were already in the alpha previously, you got access to the beta. I was lucky enough to be in that camp, but it seemed like very few people that had signed up previously or back closer to the alpha were getting access to this closed beta. In fact, I'm not sure I even saw that many people talk about getting codes later or throughout the beta like it was expected. And then they quietly dropped a program where if you had beta access, you could get 2 codes to give to 2 friends that could then give 2 codes to 2 more friends, etc., etc. But if you weren't on Reddit or Discord, you could have easily not heard about this, like I almost didn't. I think this was especially useful because of how important and knowledgeable or communicating 3-stack is to this game. It felt like the code system was more of a fix than a feature to bring in more players. Whether it's a beta or a full release, the player count, there's always going to be some kind of drop off, but I think maybe it could have been higher or more stable if those codes were going out regularly to those people that had signed up. Some of the larger bug fixes like HitReg feel like they should have been fixed before a wider beta release, but it might have also been a case where that wasn't something they could really account for until it was in a live environment. The important thing to remember is that it was a beta, the first one, in fact, and it was far from all bad. Here's what I feel they got right. One word, updates. They started with one update every day for the first 3 days. These took care of HitReg and the sound issue I mentioned, addressed match rewards and XP, some of the balance issues and many other bugs and minor issues. And they didn't stop there. The second week they dropped more balance adjustments and buffed every gun in the game. I don't think I can overstate the importance of all these updates, not only for the beta itself, but for the game as a whole. As far as the beta was concerned, it couldn't stay broken for the duration, and they were obviously prepared. But they could have fixed the major issues and then let the beta run. Granted, it was a long beta, but I've never seen this level of care and attention put into a beta release. If it's something they can maintain for the official release, I think it's a great sign for the game as a whole. As difficult as it was playing solo with randoms, I wanted to keep playing. As the player base expands, along with everyone's knowledge of the game, I think this will be less of an issue. My hope is that many of those people hoping for something new in the shooter space realize that the finals is it. It's got enough of those familiar elements while giving you a learning curve for the game mode and the gadgets. I'm hoping more and expanded game modes make it even easier for solo and hesitant shooter enthusiasts to hop in. Besides the continued support throughout the beta and the overall fun factor of the game, I think most importantly, everything felt better than the alpha. While the alpha was some time ago, everything from the guns, the gadgets, the specials, the movement, etc., it all felt tuned from that alpha. Of course, this is what you want, and with all the updates we saw throughout the beta, it doesn't really come as much of a surprise. But I think it's worth noting that we should see continued improvement into the next beta and beyond. As for those game modes and potential future betas, what will we see from the finals next, and when? From the alpha in November to the beta in March, it was about 5 months. But the good news is, I don't think we're gonna have to wait that long to get back in the game. The game is currently listed as coming soon on Steam, but it was slated for a 2023 release. Besides the Call of Duty release likely coming in October, the finals doesn't have a lot to avoid in the fall, besides maybe a new season of other live service shooters or battle royales. The fall release does seem the most likely at this point. So what happens between now and an August or September launch that's 4 to 5 months away? I think we see another beta, likely including consoles this time, for at least part, if not the whole thing. If you think of COD where they do like a PlayStation weekend, Xbox weekend, and then everybody gets to play weekend, something like that, but maybe more condensed, possibly over another 2-week period. I would expect it to be an open beta, but it could be partially closed if they feel as there's more fine tuning to be done. But I think the main focus will be making sure that the console versions and all of the cross-play aspects are working as expected. I think they'll also be testing out another map and possibly another or more game modes and maybe some adjustments to tournament or ranked play. Besides balancing and other minor adjustments, I don't think we see any brand new weapons or gadgets in the next beta, and beta cosmetics will likely return, maybe different for the second time around. I'd be really surprised if we don't see a beta in this time frame unless the game gets pushed to next year, and then maybe we see 2 betas this year. But from the movement and progress Embark has made on the finals, I think they really do want to get this game out this year. I think that's when we'll see it. If all of this goes to plan or something similar, I think we see that full release in the fall, and with that, a new map for 4 total, and of course, a bunch of cosmetics to earn and buy. 4 maps might not seem like it's a lot, but remember, each of those maps is getting 3 or 4 variations, and there's always that destruction aspect at play, changing things up with each and every round. I'd rather they give us 4 maps on the full release, and maybe another within a couple months before the end of the year, as opposed to giving us 5 on release, and then not having that steady stream of content that's just so important to live service games now. Similarly with the weapons and gadgets, I'd like to see things, fine-tune, different options become more viable. Something like the melee weapons being a gadget with a cooldown instead of taking up that weapon spot, as opposed to them adding more weapons and gadgets just to have more. Going over gameplay footage for this and other videos, I'm ready to hop back in as soon as possible. I'm excited to see what the next beta or the full release bring, but what about you? Do you think we see more than a couple of new things in the next beta? Console players getting included this time? Hopefully whatever it is, we don't have to wait long. I'll see you out there.